Dude, this is the coolest thing, and you probably know about it already. But the number of people listening now section on the Spotify artist dashboard has got to be the most genius piece of code or application that any engineer at Spotify has given to musicians. It's basically like audio crack for us and to be able to know how many people are listening now. My name is Kev Rowe. I'm a lifelong musician. I've done well over 2,000 shows nationwide. I've recorded in professional studios all over the country and released over 150 songs on Spotify. Check them out if you have time. So yes, you're like, what are you talking about? Number of people listening now. So let's imagine you're a brand new musician and you've just put out your first single on Spotify. And you're so excited, right? You just got it out there. And so you go and you download to your phone the Spotify for Artist app, which gives you access to the artist dashboard on your computer and on your phone. And probably more so on your phone. That's the way you're really going to look at it. And when you open this app, all of a sudden you see the coolest thing. It's a number that's constantly changing. And it says, people listening now. I think that's the verbiage. Yes. So a number that's changing all the time. And then it says, people listening now. And you're like, what? I can really see how many people are actively listening to my music on Spotify, like from all over any place in the world. Absolutely. Yes, you can. And I'm not sure if you can see it on my computer right here, but that's where it is. And on your phone, it's seriously like crack cocaine for musicians. like we check that all day long. And for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it feels good to know people are listening to your music, whether or not it's one person or 100 people, or for some people it may be 500 people or 1,000 people at the same time. But I think in general, for you and me, it goes between 1 and let's say 30 people listening all the time, usually on their phones. So that feels good. Is it addictive? Absolutely addictive. Like, you want to be checking your phone all the time just to get that positive feedback of, oh man, 4 people are listening now. Hey, it just jumped up to 7 people listening now. Oh my God, it just went up to 23 people are listening right now. Oh man, it went back down to 4. Oh, I guess 4 people are listening now. Well, hey, that's still 4 people. That's good. And it really is. I want to go over to Spotify and shake the hand of the engineer who came up with this concept and offered it to us as musicians. So I think it's really cool. Now, how do I use it in a real way? I think that's really important because probably like me, you are a hardcore music marketing person and you put a lot of time and energy into getting that number, the people listening now, to go up or to hit new levels of stability. So for example, in week 1, you might only have 1 to 5 people listening. Then you do a whole bunch of work or spend a whole bunch of money and you get that number to go to 5 to 10 people listening. And then you're like, yeah, this is working. What I'm doing is working to drive that number up. Then you might get the people listening now to go from 15 to 25 in a stable way. And you're like, yes, the things that I am doing are working. So I think that's important to take into consideration when it comes to the actual work that you're doing as a musician. Whether it be creating organic content or videos or sharing with your email list. Like if you share an email to your new single at 6 a.m. and at 9 a.m. you go check your people listening now and it's drastically shot up, I think that's valuable intelligence because you're like, oh, my emails are working. People are clicking through. Now, there are lots of things ways to determine whether or not an email marketing campaign is working. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of email, but yeah, it's one of the tools that you can use to push your music out there. Or probably better yet is you have a new video that you put out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at the same time, let's say at 11 a.m. on a Friday. And you've done a great job of putting them into the necessary formats considering the platform that they're on. So you might have 60-second reels for Instagram, or you might have, and TikTok, or you might have the long form video for YouTube, and maybe you put the long form on Facebook too, or maybe you've decided to go reels on Facebook also. You launch all that stuff at 11 a.m. right on a Friday. Then you go check your people listening now on your Spotify artist dashboard, and it's shooting up like crazy. You're like, oh yes, this is working. I'm driving listeners who I know already like me. They like my brand. They probably listen to my other music, and now they're interacting, and the awareness that I'm building with all this other content is showing up on people listening now on Spotify. So that's definitely encouraging. But I would also say it's important a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, to go back to always be checking that number to see if the fruits of your labor are having long-term stability and growth. Is this hard to determine? Very, very hard to determine. Which brings me to the downside of the people listening now section of the app. And it's that, again, it's like crack cocaine for musicians because we check it all day long. But it's not necessarily a great metric for long-term stability. Stress the word long-term. Because just because you can get that number to bolt up because of your new single. Or let's get into, well, the main reason for why that is because of the things that happen on Spotify that you have no control over. Like the algorithmic playlists, like Radio and Discover Weekly and Release Radar and Mix, and just the way that Spotify functions. Those things have as much, if not greater, effect on that people listening now number as the work that you're doing. So it's very hard to determine whether or not your people listening now average is going up over time. Which makes me want to recommend my advice when it comes to this people listening now thing is, don't let it be the only metric that you get off on. That's a terrible phrase. Don't let it be the only metric that you're checking all day long. You want to check everything, right? You know, like how many YouTube views you're getting, how many TikTok views you're getting, Instagram views. And I'm not a huge metrics guy when it comes to social media because there's a lot of false praise out there and you can drive up these numbers quick and fast. And it's a lot of it is not real fan engagement. And the other things that I would be checking more often are the more granular data, which is in all of the DSP tools that they give us. So go into Spotify for Artist Dashboard and really look at every number you can possibly look at. Don't just look at the people listening now number and watch it as it goes up and down like a crackhead. You know, get into all the data. Are your curves slowly going up over time as far as monthly listeners, streams, playlist ads, saves of your songs? You got to look at absolutely everything, and including which countries those are coming from. Now, depending on how you're growing your artist's career and your life on Spotify, those methods can all affect these things. Because if I have ads in Brazil going, and one of my top countries is Brazil, which is true for me, then obviously I'm going to be paying more attention to the Brazil charts than I am the Sweden charts, which I have no idea how many followers or listeners I have in Sweden. But Brazil is pretty popular. So, yeah, you want to get into all of the data everywhere, even if it's not the sexy people listening now number. And not only on Spotify, but on Apple Music. Apple Music is a great way to check your data because less people use Apple Music in terms of both advertising campaigns and listeners. So odds are you probably are not running ads campaigns to Apple Music. So Apple Music would be a great place to go see your real growth. Kind of a different video there. But go to YouTube, check that out. What you want everywhere are long-term steps, long-term growths in your career over years. And people listening now, that little number is like a millisecond of feedback, like over and over and over again. So you got to look at your whole career like this over the span of 5 to 10 years, not just this little metric on Spotify, which again I really love. And Apple Music now has the people listening now number being shown to its artists too. I haven't gotten it yet because my following's not big enough, but I know there other artists have it. And geez, wouldn't that be? And I guess YouTube kind of has it. They show you on the within minutes of people viewing your YouTube videos. So many, and I mean, you don't get much quicker feedback than a view and a like on Facebook. So yeah, all these short-term metrics, take with a tiny grain of salt. Pay attention to the long-term metrics. I mean, if you really want to talk about long-term growth, go into your DSP. For me, it's CD Baby, or whoever you use, TuneCore, or I forget the names. Go in and look at your long-term growth in terms of money. Like, what kind of money are you making over time? And is it making little steps? If it is making little steps or medium-sized steps, you're doing great work because it means it's going to just keep going up over time. If you've got a big jump in money one month and it goes way down the next month, not a great sign. It means something happened that just was out of your control, that you might have hit the lottery that month, or that quarter, but if it's going down over time, then it's not a good sign for the other work that you're doing. So do I love the people listening now thing on the Spotify artist dashboard? Totally love it. I think it's kind of genius. And do I look at it probably 20 times a day? Yeah, I probably do. It's kind of embarrassing, but do I look at all those other numbers the rest of the day? Absolutely. Like, I really have an understanding of every angle to every dashboard, and I really think you should too. So I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye.